I'm telling you guys, Dragon Age the Veilguard just can't catch a break. 6 months after the disastrous launch, and let's be honest, that's putting it nicely, Dragon Age the Veilguard has once again proven to everybody that nobody cares about it, even when it's free to play for PS Plus members. The numbers that we are finding out right now behind the scenes that are coming out are absolutely embarrassing for this title. It's even worse than I thought it was going to be. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. As soon as I saw this information come out, I was like, I have to run and make a video on it because holy crap, if you thought that this game failed before when it launched, just wait until it went free and saw that nobody wants to play it. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article breaking down how Dragon Age the Veilguard has gone free to play for PS Plus members, and those members are still not taking Sony up on the offer. In a last-ditch effort to salvage whatever reputation was remaining on Dragon Age the Veilguard, EA has tossed the game onto PlayStation Plus in March of 2025, just a few short months after the release, in hopes that maybe, just maybe, players would, on the off chance, give it a shot if it was free. And the result was a laughable no. According to data from True Trophies, which analyzes over 3.4 million active PSN accounts, the Veilguard didn't even crack the top 10 most played games on PlayStation, even after being offered for free to PlayStation Plus members. Not even in the top 10 games on PlayStation. Oh, but maybe it was 11th place. No? 12th? 13th? 14th? Keep going. It was 15th most played game, trailing behind the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection that came out 3 years ago. And that was a collection of retro games that came out decades ago. Dragon Age the Veilguard still fell short of beating that out. Not that I'm surprised, I mean, it's a pretty awesome game. But yes, you heard me right. More people chose to replay decades-old NES games over BioWare's latest attempt at wokeness in keeping the Dragon Age franchise alive. The writing was on the wall long before this latest humiliation. The Veilguard was one of the most hyped and ultimately most disappointing releases of not just 2024, but some people could potentially argue of all time. Like, yeah, it was that big of a letdown, especially for longtime Dragon Age fans. And as I previously reported directly from an insider, BioWare and EA were trying to aim for 10 million copies sold over the course of the lifetime of this game with Tale, but instead barely managed to even allegedly scrape past 1 million copies sold total. And that's even a debated number because EA and BioWare themselves never actually came out and said they sold 1 million copies. So at this rate, we're not even sure they got to that mark. That's the kind of performance that gets games quietly swept under rugs, not added to PS Plus with hopes of a comeback. And to make things even more embarrassing, EA already tried to shift the blame, suggesting that the Veilguard flopped not because it wasn't a good game or because it was filled with political correctness and wokeness. No, it's because it wasn't a live service game, and that's what gamers really want. Even though you look at the countless amount of games coming out, almost it feels like on a weekly basis these days, that aren't live service, that are absolutely crushing what the Veilguard did. But no, don't worry. EA and their executives have to tell their shareholders something about why this game failed, and it couldn't possibly be because it's their fault. No. It's always something else. According to Twisted Voxel, they said, regarding Dragon Age the Veilguard's inability to reach a wider audience, Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA, said that games must align with the changing expectation of players who prioritize shared world features and deeper engagement, alongside compelling narratives. In other words, he expected the game to have been more successful if it had featured live service elements. Which, for those of you, if you'd recall, Dragon Age the Veilguard originally started off as a live service game and was one of the additions of it that was eventually scrapped in one of the 3 total editions that they were creating of the game during the near decade-long development cycle, costing hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars to earn them pennies in return. For some reason, EA is implying that they wanted another Anthem-style disaster, but that's another story for another day. Talk about desperate grasping at straws by EA brass. At this point, it's safe to say that the Veilguard is beyond saving. Not that anyone paying attention to the situation is surprised in the least bit to hear. If being handed out for basically what amounts to being free for existing subscribers to PS Plus isn't enough to attract players, literally nothing will be. BioWare is falling apart from the inside out, and by all indications, are being left to scramble and figure out what went wrong with this game specifically. Which, spoiler alert, everything? I mean, is it really that big of a shock to see this game fail with the type of scenes that were involved with it? Who wants to play a game and be preached to about someone who is non-binary or is having sexual crazed desires and confusion in their life if that's something taking place in a fantasy world where none of that stuff ever existed? And that in itself was a point of contention for many longtime fans of the Dragon Age series, specifically with Corinne Bush, the trans man that was put in charge of the development, the lead dev on the project, that was clearly on board with injecting woke ideologies throughout the entire experience, even though it's a fantasy world. They were trying to see themselves represented in a game where there was no need for representation in the first place. Then you have other people on the team like Trick Weeks, who was reportedly the creator and writer of Tosh and all the scripting for Tosh, and how this somehow got approved by higher ups to move forward with. I think years from now, people will look back at this game wondering how this all came to be, and most importantly, how any of it got approved by people in management positions to move forward with it and put it for sale to the masses, thinking that this is something that gamers would eat up and embrace, when in reality, anyone who is actually a gamer would look at the situation for what it's worth and say, nobody wants this, nobody's ever asked for it, and if anything, this is clear pandering to an ideology that has been rejected by gamers across the world. At this point, EA is regretting every cent they poured into this train wreck of a game, if you can even call it that, for the better part of a near decade-long slog of development time, spanning multiple scrapped attempts of making it along the way. We're talking a rumored upwards of 3 different versions of this game before it finally made its way out the door. So you can imagine towards the end of it, EA was probably like, look, we know it's crap, we don't care. At this rate, just sell the game. We can't go back to the drawing board for a 4th time. Meanwhile, gamers have spoken loud and clear, and it's hysterical. They'd rather play a collection of 30-year-old Ninja Turtle games than endure even a few hours of this soulless, corporate-driven mess. And honestly, I can't say I blame anybody for having this as the result either. BioWare is flailing, and the controversial lead developer in charge of Corinne Bush had already left the sinking corpse of a rotting ship well before BioWare started to announce layoffs within the writing team itself. And again, all this stuff that's coming to fruition is really not that surprising at all, and maybe at this point, it's good for EA to look at the situation and say, yes, we screwed up, and it's time for us to leave Dragon Age the Veilguard behind once and for all, because nobody is caring about playing this game, even when it's free, which is the most embarrassing part about all of this. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, check out smashjt.com for the full article, links, sources, references, screenshots, all that fun stuff, because holy crap, this blew my mind when I saw it. I was like, yep, I gotta talk about this right away. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
I had written, so this was after Mass Effect 3, and I had written for, I'd done a little bit on Liara, who has it was romanceable by male shepherd or female shepherd. And I'd worked on Trainer, who was exclusively a same-sex romance. So it was not my, I had done various different types of romances before. I was interested in hearing what I'd gotten right, what I'd gotten wrong, and things I could look at doing in the future.
So I'm non-binary.
Smash,